Good morning and welcome to First Parish. I am delighted to see you all here. I'd like us to begin with our centering music, which is being performed by Rip Jackson on the piano as he plays All Creatures Great and Small. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see you all here. My name is Reverend Ann Mason. I welcome you to First Parish. Today, we begin our annual pledge drive, and our own Elizabeth Yoss is both our worship associate and head of our stewardship campaign. So she's wearing two hats today. I'd also like to welcome Sarah Butel, who will be sharing some thoughts on her experience with junior high youth group and with the children's choir. We have a board meeting on Tuesday night, and all are welcome as always. Our Massachusetts legislature has before it a climate bill, which our CAT team has asked us to support. So please read your weekly update, and if you feel so moved, contact Governor Baker today, right after church, as this is the last day for him to be able to sign this climate bill. Our call to worship this morning is by the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength is too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens, and our strength is renewed. Our introit this morning is Together Wherever We Go, sung by Elizabeth Walsh, accompanied by Rip Jackson on the piano. Jermaine, would you please?
I'll try to unmute you.
There, I'm good. Okay. Wherever we go, whatever we do, we're gonna go through it together. We may not go far, but sure as a star. Wherever we are, we're together. Wherever I go, I know she goes. Wherever I go, I know he goes. No fits, no fights, no feuds, and no egos. Amigos, together, through thick and through thin, all out or all in. And whether it's wind, play
unmute. Thank you. Hi, thank you, Beth. That was a wonderful piece. Today, our chalice lighting, the reading comes from Gady Gelfand, The Abundance of Our Lives Together. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, in our Zoom sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another, and we offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us. And now, won't you please join me in singing our first hymn this morning, Woyoya.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woya-ya, 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 woya-ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. We will get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woya-ya, 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 woya-ya-ya-ya, 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 woya-ya-ya-ya.
Good morning. It is so good to virtually be with you all this morning and see all these smiling faces. And what a wonderful opening hymn, Rip. Thank you so much. And I see more people singing. I see mouths moving too. And I love to know that everybody's singing at home. Our story this morning is adapted from One Flower in a Field by Joshua Searle White. Once upon a time, there was a field. It had dry grass, brambles and thistles, and high places and low places, and rocks scattered around, and a stream that passed alongside. And scattered around here and there and everywhere were flowers, buttercups and tulips, coneflowers and lupines, all kinds of bright, beautiful flowers growing up out of the dry grass. Now, you may ask, how could these flowers grow when the field was so dry? The answer is that next to each flower was a hole in the ground, and in each hole lived an animal whose job it was to tend that flower. Most were rabbits, but there were hedgehogs and field mice and even a badger or two. And every morning, each animal would come out of its hole, hop or scurry down to the stream, and use a leaf to scoop up some water. And then they would each carry their leaf back and water their flower. In a little gully in this field, next to a tall sunflower, lived a rabbit. And every day she would go down to the stream and get some water for her sunflower. She loved that flower. It was tall and bright and strong and healthy, and she took very good care of it. One afternoon, the rabbit decided to hop up to the top of a little hill alongside her gully. And when she got to the top, she saw something she had never seen before. Down a ways, she saw a flower. It might have been a daisy, but it was hard to tell. The flower looked in bad shape. She hopped down the hill to take a closer look, and then she began to understand this flower needed water. Its stem was bent, its petals were wilting in the heat, and the ground around it was parched and dry. The rabbit felt bad that a flower could be so neglected. And then she did nothing. She did nothing. You're probably wondering, wait, what? She did nothing? Why didn't the rabbit just go over the hill and water the flower? After all, it wasn't that far away. It was just on the other side of the hill, and the stream had plenty of water, and the rabbit had plenty of time. These are good questions. And the rabbit thought about it at the time. And she'd think about making an extra trip to the stream whenever she went to get water for her flower. But then she'd think, well, you don't just march into someone's front yard and water their flower without asking, do you? What if that flower is someone else's to water? They might yell at me or something. Or she'd think, what if the flower likes being dried up and droopy? That's possible, maybe. Or she'd think, aren't there animals who their job is to go around and help out flowers, whose other animals don't water them and I should leave it to them. That's what I should do. Now, all these questions swirled in the rabbit's head as she went about her business, and she took care of her sunflower every day and kept trying not to think about that other flower, but it kept bothering her. It's kind of irritating, actually. Sometimes she wished the flower would just get better by itself or just go away. But every time she sneaked a peek, there it was, looking more dry, more wilted, and more droopy. Finally, the rabbit could stand it no longer. And one morning, hopping from the stream with a leaf full of water for her sunflower, she suddenly thought, it's just not right. Flowers are not supposed to wilt like that. Flowers should be healthy and colorful and bright and beautiful. And she found herself hopping over the hill toward the other flower, taking the water there instead. And as she hopped close to the flower, a hedgehog suddenly popped out of a hole in the ground and yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the rabbit said, I'm going to water this flower. It's too dry. And if I don't water it, it will die. And the hedgehog said, what business is it of yours? This is my flower, and I'll take care of it how I want. Go home and take care of your own flower. But the rabbit answered, I'm sorry, I tried that. Flowers are supposed to be bright and beautiful, not wilty and drooping. So I'm going to water this flower. She watered that dry, wilted, drooping daisy right in front of the hedgehog, though he fussed and mumbled and gave her mean looks. And she turned around and hopped back over the hill. The next day she came back with a leaf full of water and watered it again, and the next day and the day after that. The hedgehog continued to fuss and mumble and give the rabbit mean looks. But the flower started to look better. First the petals perked up, then the stem began to stand up a little straighter. Then its leaves started to fill out and get bigger. The flower even grew a little taller. Strangely enough, as this flower got brighter and healthier and taller and more beautiful, so did the rabbit's own flower. And so did every other flower, all the flowers in the field, even the ones she never watered, flowers she had never noticed before. And the whole field began to brighten as the colors of every flower became more vivid and the flowers stretched taller. It was almost as if there was more water everywhere. How could that be? Were other rabbits and hedgehogs and field mice and even badgers sneaking around and watering other animals' flowers too? Or was it because when someone waters a wilting flower somewhere, all flowers everywhere grow a little brighter? Who knows? But we can water flowers and find out. Thank you for listening today.
Oh, that was lovely. And now won't you all please join me in saying our affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church, and the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Now, many of you have likely noticed that we say this affirmation of faith every service. Sometimes people ask about the ritual because, as a rule, Unitarian Universalists are rarely identified with one specific set of words. But many congregations have a similar affirmation that they say every week. And the reason for that is that we are a covenantal faith. We gather on Sunday morning or in small groups to help one another find meaning and to connect with each other for the common purpose of value-based work in our communities. Our stewardship campaign is an expression of that covenant. The campaign begins today and ends on March 14th. And in these next few weeks, our families have an opportunity to reflect on how each of us have been held and enriched by First Parish. And then reflect on what we can do. What is our part in taking care of this community in return? An opportunity to take care of each other, to help one another by contributing our own financial resources and investing in the continuing programming and staff that make them come to life. We have been fortunate here at First Parish in Lexington. These last 12 months have been unlike any other year. Between the impact on our lives due to the pandemic, the awakening of a deeper commitment to racial justice after the killing of George Floyd, the mobilization to counter the distorted information by the last presidential administration, leading tragically to the riot on January 6th, we have been so blessed. We have been blessed because we have had this community of faith to help us process it all. And it has been resilient in the face of all these many challenges. Now, most of you know that as a community of faith, we are funded by our members. We know that the Stewardship Campaign asks us all to make a pledge of a specific monetary amount, and we pay that out over 12 months, starting usually in July. We value this community, and yet a lot of us hesitate to come up with a number. I have been leading stewardship for a few years now, and I don't think I have yet been able to completely communicate how deeply I feel that the Stewardship Campaign is an important part of how I express my faith. It is my lifelong commitment to providing resources for the life-saving, world-changing, values-based work of Unitarian Universalism nationwide and globally, really. For me, giving is a manifestation of my values. And it also is an opportunity to build pride. Pride in the history of our congregation, pride of our building on the Lexington Green, pride in our partnerships like Hand in Hand, like pride in our outreach, like the Voices on the Green. And this year, enormous pride in our staff and the online programming experiences they have made possible, and also the social media exposure we have gotten. And I feel gratitude for a community that has sustained us throughout this pandemic, the lockdowns, gratitude for opportunities to work actively on issues of social justice this year, economic justice, racial justice, climate change. This year, I feel gratitude to be part of this congregation. And this year, I am asking you to think a little more carefully about our covenant to help one another. And some of us have had a harder time this year due to the pandemic. Some of us have more. And those of us who have more, we need to give a little more this year so that we can cover for those who may have a little less due to the complications of the last 12 months. And here is the point that I think bears mentioning. The UUA guidelines for pledging a family pledge level is 3%, plus or minus 3% of your annual income, which is adjusted for large expenditures like medical care or tuition and that type of thing. Well, 30% of our congregation gives less than 1,000, and another 30,000 gives less than 3,000. This suggests, if you look at the numbers, that 60% of our congregation is likely giving less than the recommended guidelines. And I know that for some of you, the Pledge campaign is just one of several charities you contribute to. But this pandemic year, I hope, has illustrated for you that we are not a charity. We are a faith community. We are a church. The Wildlife Fund does not reach out during a health emergency. Planned Parenthood does not offer a space to process and discuss the impact of local and national news stories. The many political campaigns that most of us contribute to, the political campaigns will not help us adapt to the realities of unemployment, childcare, elder care, winter storms, not to mention the economic injustice and the climate change, and to help us hold ourselves accountable to dismantling the institutional injustices that we are all discovering at all levels. So over the next few weeks, you will be hearing from members of our congregation. You will be hearing about how being a part of the church community has impacted them or what they have done this year in our online new world. I hope that these insights will help you think about the covenant we share to provide the resources we need to sustain this community. So now I would like to welcome our first testimonial from Sarah Butel.
Hello, my name is Sarah Butel, and I'm going to talk today about two programs that really started church for me, that sort of helped me embrace the fact that I had to come to this place every Sunday. So first up is children's choir, and I started children's choir pretty much the first day I joined First Parish, and at first I was reluctant to try it because there was all these older people and I didn't know anybody, and I don't know, it felt a little uncomfortable, but I was pushed out of my comfort zone and I started to go to children's choir every week. And children's choir really introduced me to all sorts of things, especially music. I hadn't really thought about music before, and music really changed my life, and that all started at children's choir. So I also met a lot of new people, and I met Rip Jackson, who really has helped me over all these years, and some really great friends. And then I also started another program, or joined another program this year, which is the junior high youth group. And that has really opened me up to a lot of worldwide issues, and I get to talk about my opinions on them. And I haven't really done that before, which is sort of surprising to me. So I felt like, and I feel like that's an amazing place, and it makes me feel safe, and I really enjoy it. So yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Oh, it's so wonderful to hear from you, and to know that the ongoing programs, senior high, junior high, are continuing to go all throughout the year. So this is the time during our service every Sunday that we receive the offerings that help us sustain our programs and our vision at First Parish. We are incredibly grateful to those who give regularly and generously. And if this is your first time visiting us here at First Parish, please just know that your presence here is your first great offering. And for those of you who would like to know how to donate, please look at the slide. There is a QR code, and there is also a link in the chat. Our offertory music this morning is played by Rip Jackson on piano.
Thank you so much, Rip. Thank you, Elizabeth and Sarah, for your wise words about your connection to this congregation. It's very powerful for me to hear. My friends, this morning I am honored to offer what our stewardship team amusingly calls the Sermon on the Amount. For I'm going to talk vision and I'm going to talk numbers, people numbers, viewing numbers, money numbers. And I'm hoping to explore how our theology is lived through the decisions that we make around money, as it is for every family who needs to make decisions about numbers. It is our obligation and our blessing to make choices about how we live and how we spend our resources. The theme that the board has chosen for our pledge drive is growth and beyond. And so I'm wondering if you're thinking, as I was, that this is a very ambitious goal to set during a global pandemic. With our building closed on Sunday mornings, how in the world are we supposed to grow? Well, I will tell you that even with our building closed on Sunday morning, we are already growing. And not in the usual way of adding bodies in our pews. Our vision of growth was always limited to that vision. More people sitting together at 7 Harrington Road, more hands to shake after worship, more cups of coffee to brew, more singing together, more visitors to welcome. It does make me sad thinking about all those details of our beloved Sunday morning ritual of life together and how much we miss them. The smiles, the greetings, finding our coats in that sea of coat racks, untangling the long chains of our name tags. But we will be back together. And in the meantime, letting go of this vision of growth gives us permission to learn a new way of being, a new way of growing, a new way of doing church together. So think for a minute of who is watching worship right now. Yes, there are usually about 90 computers or tablets or phones connected to our Zoom worship. Many of these are families sitting together watching. And often there are about 15 or 20 people watching our YouTube live stream. And today, for the first time, we're also streaming live onto our Facebook page. So this morning, in particular, Jermaine tells me that there are 4 people that are with us on YouTube and that we have our first viewer on Facebook Live. So welcome. We know that you're here and we're glad to have you. But did you know that our recordings of worship have developed a life of their own? So not only did we have the usual amount of people watching last week, as we spoke of the magic of imagination, but the recording of the worship service, which you can see on our First Parish YouTube channel, has been viewed over 250 times already just this week. And the service that we offered last week, the one on New Beginnings, has been viewed over 500 times. It has been like this for months now. And I'm still amazed at how we are reaching out with our message of love and acceptance for all people, our vision for resisting oppression in every form, and our deep desire to build beloved community right here, right now, with all who want to be part of this living faith. We offer our services, we share our worship time together, and people online, anyone really, who wants to drop in, can watch our services later, worship in their own way, and hopefully feel that they too are part of this community of faith. And so in this way, we are growing our faith. We are reaching people we didn't even know were interested in our unique way of presenting our Unitarian Universalist values. Think about the programs that we offer. I know that we are in the midst of reading Ibram Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. We have over 40 people signed up to participate. And most of those people are not actually members of First Parish. They're coming from other towns in the area. What a gift to our members to be able to share this experience in a wider circle of concern. It is the hidden blessing of this time. Because we are offering things only digitally, we are able to physically reach a wider audience. And think of this, those within our community who who have found it physically challenging to come to our building for an event, all have equal access to every event. We are all participating from our homes, on our computers, given this basic equipment. And I know that there are some in our church who either do not have the right equipment or are not comfortable with their family spending more time on Zoom. But given the right equipment, we are all equal. And again, we are growing our faith because we're equalizing the playing field and growing horizontally, reaching more people. This is growing our faith. So let's cast our vision for the time beyond this pandemic, the time when it will be safe to return to the building. Do we want to lose the learning that we have acquired during this year of challenge? I hope not. We must vision a way of doing church which will remain hospitable for all those who have found us during this COVID year. For those who will feel safe and comfortable coming together, and how we long for that moment. It will be fabulous to be together, but not if we are throwing away the new relationships that we are creating now. So I want us to vision a both and way of doing church. We want small groups to meet, and many of our Soul Matters groups have found ease and comfort in meeting on Zoom, but others have not liked it at all and are simply putting up with Zoom until we can meet again. But why can't we do both? Let's be creative in our planning. Let's be sure that we are able to welcome people where and how they are. I can see a wonderful way of doing church where those of us who can be together will do so. But we will make room for others. We will design our worship so that those at home still feel connected. We will always know that what we do in person is only part of the complete message. We will continue to explore our social media and keep reaching out. We will be tweeting the service as it goes online. We might be using TikTok or Twitch, Instagram Live, Twitter Live, Facebook Live. Can you imagine a way of doing church where people who view our services and our programs feel like full members of our community, our online and in-person, hybrid, wonderfully complex community? My friends, it will take resources to make this happen. Last year's pledge goal was $455,000, and we are so grateful that we were able to achieve this. It was brave to continue with the pledge drive as the pandemic hit this time last year. And I think it's helped us all to focus on how important this community is for all the members, our connection, our presence with each other, and our mutual support has truly helped so many here to weather the storms of isolation and fear in these troubled times. And so here we are again, beginning a pledge drive, once again in the midst of pandemic. There are so many familiar pieces to this, and still we see each other only in the small boxes of our Zoom screen. It is familiar, even though we still would much rather meet in person. It is familiar. And we have all found ways to make meaning, to create connection, and to share the love that we feel for each other. Last year, the board decided it was a priority to keep all of the staff at their full-time employment levels. And speaking for the staff, we are so grateful that First Parish made this strong decision. It has kept all of us economically stable during this roller coaster of a year. And that has truly helped us all to continue working, continue meeting as a staff, continue planning worship and youth group and music and all the work of the church. We've been able to hire our new tech manager, Jermaine, and we plan to keep her through this time when all of our work is digital. And Jermaine, just to let you know, I'm already thinking of exciting ways that you can work with us once we're all back together. So yes, I hope that we make last year's goal of $455,000 so that we can keep on going. But I truly hope that we can increase this goal by at least 5% so that we can reach more people and expand our vision of how to become more loving through our actions, to be a truly anti-racist congregation, overturning oppression, working for climate justice, and doing the hard work to make our democracy more healthy There is so much to be done, my friends. I hope that you will take this month to read the notes you will be getting from our stewardship committee, to ponder your sense of connection to this congregation and to our wider faith, and to consider what financial gift you will be able to offer this year. I am excited to be doing ministry with you, and it is giving me much needed energy to begin this vision casting with you, even now, especially now. I'd like to close with a poem by a Spanish Muslim mystic and poet from the 12th century, Ibn Arabi. His vision for an inclusive religion open to all still speaks strongly to me. He wrote, "There was a time I would reject those who are not of my faith, but now my heart has grown capable of taking on all forms. It is a pasture for gazelles, an abbey for monks, a table for the Torah, Kaaba for the pilgrim. My religion is love. Whichever the routes love's caravan shall take, that shall be the path of my faith." So my friends, what does it take to grow our faith? We must begin as we hope to end, with openness, with courage, with vision, and with a deep sense of abundance. Thank you, all of you, for your gifts, for your presence, and for your commitment to our shared faith. Amen, and blessed be. And now, Elizabeth, would you be so kind as just to share a few of the details about our stewardship drive?
Okay, no problem. As with all things this year, the pledge drive will be leveraging and celebrating our access to the internet. Instead of receiving pledge cards and a letter from your mail carrier, you will be receiving this information in your email. Currently, whoever the member of your household is that is now receiving the pledge statements from our treasurer, Tom, that is the person who will be receiving the stewardship campaign letter in their email. It will include the last 3 years of giving and also include the letter, text, and graphs and things that you are familiar with. Please look for it this week. It may even be in your junk mail. If your family has sent your contact information fairly recently, or perhaps you're new to pledging, don't worry, we'll be sending out more information to you shortly. And finally, if there's anyone that is currently enthusiastic about pledging immediately, you can find that information on our website at fplex.org/stewardship. And I'm hitting return on the chat. It's right there in the chat. Friends, by making a generous pledge, we will be celebrating the covenant that we have with each other to fund our values-based work. And friends, by making your pledge before our special service on March 14th, we are showing gratitude to our board and our finance team for all the time they invest in the careful planning to create our upcoming budget. So please use the online pledging link that you will find in your email. And we look forward to seeing the results. We'll be publishing our graphs in all the special places. So thank you very much for your contribution and introspection on the value of this community. And now we will be hearing our anthem. Last week, our anthem featured Ewan Jobling singing a piece from The Wizard of Oz. And this week, we will be hearing from Elizabeth Walsh singing the piece Home from The Wiz, with, of course, our own Rip Jackson on piano.
When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home. I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing. And just maybe I can convince time to slow up, giving me enough time in my life to grow up. Time, be my friend. Let me start again. Suddenly my world's gone and changed its face, but I still know where I'm going. I have had my mind spun around in space, and yet I've watched it growing. If you're listening, God, please don't make it hard to know if we should believe the things that we see. Tell us, should we run away? Should we try and stay? Or would it be better just to let things be? Living here in this brand new world might be a fantasy, but it taught me to love, so it's real to me. And I've learned that we must look inside our hearts to find a world full of love like yours and mine, like
Thank you so much, Beth. Such a gift you are to this community to bring your music and your love of music and love of home. Thank you. I'd like to invite us all into a time where we can express, as you have already begun, but take time to write into the chat the joys and the sorrows that are in your heart. There are so many joys that you are lifting up this morning. Before we even began worship, we were talking about the joys of sharing information so that so many First Parish people have been able to get the vaccine through sharing knowledge and concern for each other. Amongst our sorrows, I just want to lift up our church administrator, Pratik, lost his 7-year-old niece to COVID last week. So it's a great tragedy for his family. So we hold Pratik and his little niece, Anunya, and her family in our hearts at this time. So now, as I invite you just to relax and just take some time to scan your own heart and think of what it is that you might want to share or just spend some time paying attention to as Rip plays some meditative music for us to be able to enter into a time of quiet. Please join me as I share a prayer by my colleague, the Reverend Lynn Cox. Spirit of life, ever adapting and renewing, we come together this morning with yearnings that do not match. We yearn for stability, for even one moment of feeling like we know what's going on, for the ability to predict and prepare for what is coming next. And we also yearn for change. We ache for a world that turns aside from racism, violence, dehumanization, and disregard for suffering. We pray for a change in illness, grief, isolation, incarceration, and vulnerability of our loved ones. We reach for connections that will remind us that we are worthy as we are. And we reach for connections that will help us to become our best selves. Hold us in the heart of both and. Cradle us in the mystery. Cherish us in the eternal presence of love and encourage us on the path of growth and development. As individuals and as a people, help us to become who we are called to be. Lead us to open pathways to deeper wisdom through reconciliation, self-respect, and mutual respect, compassion, owning and making amends for our mistakes. Source of wonder, move us to express and live in gratitude for the beauty of this world, for the snow which is just beginning to fall, for the loving people in our lives, for those in our midst who we are about to lose, and those that we know are struggling. Hold us in that spirit of connection and love for all these people on this day of possibility. Amen. And now I invite you to sing what is for us an iconic Unitarian Universalist hymn written by Carolyn McDade. I would love it if you would actually rise where you are so that you can breathe all the way to the bottom of your feet and sing out so loud that members of First Parish can hear each other through the walls of your homes, whether they be 10 feet apart or 10 miles apart. Let us join in singing, "We'll Build a Land."
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, my God, they then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
My friends, as we're offering this benediction, I'd like you to try and reach across the miles and just raise your hand to your camera so that we can see each other's hands and maybe feel the warmth of each other's hands in this moment of connection. May the blessing of truth be upon us, the power of love direct us and sustain us, and may the peace of this community preserve our going out and our coming in from this time forth until we meet again. Amen. And now let us enjoy our postlude, which is the Preludium in B flat major by Johann Sebastian Bach, performed by Rip Jackson on our organ. Wonderful blessing of this Zoom technology that we can see the foot pedal solo. Thank you so much, Rip. So beautiful. You are invited to stay for our breakout room coffee hour. Get yourself a cup of coffee, come back, and you'll be divided into small rooms where you can chat with friends and new friends here at First Parish. After that coffee hour time, Elizabeth Yas and I will be on the Zoom call in the main room so that you can come and ask us any questions that you have about your vision for the church. We would love to hear your feedback, your dreams, your concerns. You are the church, and what you are thinking about matters greatly to us. And now, as Rip plays some music to accompany us to our breakout rooms, I will see you all next week. Thank you.